All right, so today what we're gonna do is we are going to, we got some brand new Tekota 800 non-LC reels, and we're gonna replace them with, the drags I should say, with Dragmaster High Performance Tournament Carbon Fiber Drag Washers. So basically we get these from Tuna's Reel Trouble in Ludington. I can get the glare off of there. They're roughly, well, it says $12.99 on here. So the drags that come with these reels, pre-installed, I'm told they're made for saltwater, so they tend to slip a lot for us in the Great Lakes. So we're going to take the stock drags out, and we're going to put the Tuna's drags in. So the first thing I do whenever I buy a new Tekota reel is I drop these screws in here to hold the reel on the reel seat. So why I do this first is because last year I spooled up two 700 LCs with wire line, and I didn't put these on here, and I could not firmly secure them like I like to the rod, and it made me uncomfortable. So what I had to do was get out on the water. I hooked a church stern planer, it's going to go right behind the boat, onto my swivel at the end of the wire, and let out about, well, all the wire, so 1,000 feet of wire plus half of my backing in order to drop these pins in. So it is much easier to do it right out of the gate when you first get the reel. I would like to say I won't make that mistake again. All right. And these I just snug them up. I don't put them super tight because I'll have to loosen them up again. This is a 8mm metric wrench. I'll snug them up so they don't rattle around when I'm doing the rest of this. All right. So, and then this is the reel seat. This also comes in the box. This is what's going to go on the back end of the reel that snugs it up to the rod. So I'm going to throw this in a box for later. All right, so first thing is we take a screwdriver, and that screw right there on the front that's holding the handle in place, we're going to take that out. So we have a screw, and then we have this little ring. And what that's going to allow us to do by taking that out is take the tool that comes with the reel and break that free. That's going to allow us to take the handle off. We got to be careful because there's also a little spacer on the back of that handle. So we have a handle, and I kind of set them like I took them off. And then we have the spacer. We have our nut, and we have our whatever that thing is that holds the nut on. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is back off the star drag. And we have to be careful. I go kind of slow because there's a little clicker pin inside of here, and that's, oh, I just heard it break free. That can tend to pop out on you, and they're fairly small and fairly easy to lose. All right, so there it is. So we'll set that there with the star drag. Now there's a little hole inside of there. That's where that little clicker goes, and I'll show you when we put it back together how to get it in there. But there's also a spring in there now. Shimano puts some grease in here, which kind of holds the spring in. You can take it out if you'd like. There's a whole stack of washers. So I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to put them face down. And then there's a couple that stick on there. One of them is this black, almost like a real thin plastic or fiber washer, some sort of not metal. Alright. And then I'm going to set them on top of that stack again in the same order. I don't know what this order is and I don't want to learn. Okay. So now we're ready to take, there's 4 screws around 1, 2, 3, 4 around the side of the housing, and then there's 2 in the middle. All 6 of these need to come out. So the way I do it is I just remove them in any particular order, but I like them to go in the same holes, and they are different. Some of them are longer than others, so it does matter for a few, but I just put them in the same holes they came out of. So these 2 on this side are longer than these 2. All right, so once those are off, this should just lift straight up. And there's a bearing in here. Shouldn't fall off, it should stay in there. Just flip it over to look. This is a brand new reel, so it's real clean inside of there. If you're doing old ones, I just did 18 older 700s, and all the stock drags, all the carbon or whatever they make them out of was just all in here, so I cleaned them up really well. All right. So basically what we have is this whole big gear right here is what houses our drag washers. So before I take those off, I'm going to get the Tuna's Drag Masters ready. So I'll save the bag. I'm going to put the old washers in the bag. So we have 1, 2, 3 larger washers, drag washers, and then 1 smaller one. So this right here just pulls straight up and off. And you can see all the grease is all kicked in here. And then I'm going to disassemble it here. So on the back here is where the small drag is. Or I'm sorry, small washer, drag washer. And then we have this housing that holds them, and then there's our 1, 2, 3 stock drags. So these guys right here is what we're going to replace. Now when I was at Tuna's and they showed me how to do this, they gave me some lighter fluid, some bulk lighter fluid, and they said that that's the best thing to clean this grease off. So I take these guys right here and just drop them right in, the metal parts, drop them right in there. Keep some paper towel nearby too. Just can't get messy. And then while that's soaking in there, it only takes a second, but I'm gonna take and wipe the grease off of this. So we want these as dry as possible. Do it again. And then I'm gonna just take one end of this paper towel and just get a real light coating of that lighter fluid on there. And this lighter fluid, by the way, evaporates real quick. So when I was doing those 18, I kept putting the top back on because I could almost see the volume going down as I was working on them. All right, so that's all clean. So I'm gonna start and just put the smaller drag on there. And these are perfectly cut, so they just fit perfect right in place. And then I keep a toothbrush, just an old toothbrush, and I'll just scrub these other parts. Just to clean them up. I learned when I was doing this that paper towel was one of my best friends. Back up to keep it from evaporating. All right, now we're going to dry these off real good. And on Tuna's website is plenty of pictures of how this stuff goes back together. I've done enough of them, so I remember. So we're going to start with this brass and set a new one in there, new washer. And these metal washers, there's two of them that are identical, and then there's one that has some, almost like some key patterns in them. So that's the oddball. That one goes in the middle. And there's two like that. So I'm gonna take one, put it in there. Actually, we can do it right on the, start doing them right on here if you want. So we got carbon fiber, metal, carbon fiber, and the middle one is the one with these little notches on the end. You'll see how that seats right in there. Carbon fiber, and then the last one. And then all we have to do now is reassemble. So we're going to start by slipping this back on, and when we do this, just kind of keep your finger over this bearing. Tends to want to come out. And it should just seat right back in, just like it came out. Perfect. And then we're going to put our screws back in. I just usually start them all first. And the two long ones. All right, and then we snug them all up. And I kind of do it like I would do a lug nuts on a car wheel. Just kind of go across from each screw instead of going around in a circle. And the two middle ones. All right, so now we're going to put our washers on. Stack of washers, just like they came off. All right, now for the only tricky part, and that's the getting this little spring. So the way that it's designed is this clicker has a little notch cut out into it. And when I watched some other videos and seen how people do it, well, the way it's designed is there's a hole right here. You can drop this little clicker in there push it down. You can stick a toothpick or something pointy in there and it'll hold that in there. I tried that and it works. However, it's pretty tricky to get that toothpick to line up right. What I ended up doing is, I'll show you. So I take this first washer in the stack and I'll pull it out past the hole. So I have my stack of washers, I have the hole that the clicker pin goes in, and then I have the last washer. And then I'm gonna push this in here. And then I'm gonna push this down and use this washer to hold the clicker in place. So let's see if I can do it without it flying on my garage floor. And I'll put some close-up pictures of this too. There, just like that. So now that washer is holding that pin in this hole, and it's spring-loaded, so if that thing falls out of there, it's gonna fly somewhere and I will lose it. All right, then we're gonna turn this star drag on, and you'll feel it hit the washer right there. You gotta kind of hold this from spinning. And if it worked right, I can hear it clicking, and we're good to go. All right, so we have our spacer, our handle, our nut that holds the handle on, and I'm not going to tighten this up super tight, just snug, because we have to be able to line this little retainer on there. And it just so happens that I need a little bit of a turn and we're good. We'll put our screw in here. And we are done. So we can stick our thumb on the spool, nice and smooth, and that's what we're looking for. All right, so pretty easy. Looks like it took me about maybe 15 minutes to do this. That was kind of going slow and explaining what I was doing. So once you do a few of these things, you can really punch them out one after another.